Hello everybody, I'm SkillsXSkills27 and welcome to the very first episode of Redstone Tutorials. So, in this brand new series on my channel, I'm going to be posting this, I believe, in my schedule. Yes, I have it every other week. Every other Friday. I'm going to try my best to do that. If I can't, I'm very sorry guys. I'm pretty busy actually, but I'll try to get out as many episodes as possible. Possibly, if I can, every week. But we'll see how it goes. But why don't we jump right in, because we got a lot to cover today. Today we're gonna get started with just the basics of redstone. So why don't we come over here and turn that off. Alright. So we're just gonna go through real quick these redstone blocks. If we look in our creative inventory, you can see there's a redstone tab, and these are pretty much all the blocks that activate redstone or can be activated by redstone. And if you don't know what that means, then you came to the right place, because I'm going to be teaching lots of the basic things in redstone, how the signal strength works, all things like that today. And for new people to Minecraft, or just new people to redstone, people that want to know how to make redstone contraptions, things like that. We're going to get more in depth in the different things that you can make, but for now we're going to cover the basics. So why don't we get started? The first object we have here is called the dispenser. Right here, the dispenser. Now the dispenser is a block that, when it gets a redstone signal, let's say you put a lever on it, and you activated that lever, flipped it on, it would shoot out whatever's in it. But the thing that's special about the dispenser is that if you were to put like bone meal or arrows or armor inside this dispenser, it will actually shoot them out as if it's activating it. So the armor, if the dispenser's on that wall right there, if I'm standing right on the block in front of it, right here, and then I activate that dispenser, it will actually put the armor on for me. It's a really cool effect. As well with bone meal, if it's facing a plant, or maybe facing a block, it'll bone meal that block, which is great. As well, with arrows, it'll shoot the arrow out and stab whoever's in front of it, or whoever's in the distance of the arrow. This makes it easy for arrow traps, where you can have rapid fire arrows and things like that. The next is the, I believe, note block. Yes, the note block. This is a simple block that, when it gets a redstone signal, it creates a kind of like a sound, just like a bing or whatever. And you can tune it and everything and make note block music and things like that. The next thing is the piston. As you can see, I've actually got a sticky piston down here. But there are two types of pistons, as you can see in my inventory. We've got the original piston and the sticky piston. The sticky piston and the original piston both have their own uses, and we'll go over that later on in the series. TNT, probably almost everybody's favorite block in this game. Place it down, activate a signal, and it'll just blow up a big area. It's amazing. It's a really cool block. It's pretty expensive if you look in the fact of how much gunpowder you actually need. You might think, oh, I can grab a TNT easy, just go kill a couple of creepers. But if you look at it as a fact, I want to get a stack of TNT. Now you need 5 stacks of gunpowder. That's a lot of creepers to kill. Plus some creepers you don't even get a gunpowder from. Next thing on this corner wall here, we have the redstone repeater and redstone comparator. The redstone comparator was just recently added. The redstone repeater has been here, I think, since the 1.8 update, or maybe even a little bit sooner than that. However, these both act completely different, but in ways they act the same. See, the redstone comparator can be used to detect blocks, like maybe if there's items in a dispenser or a chest. As for the redstone repeater, it basically repeats the signal, and we're going to be going through that today, so I won't go too in depth with my explanation for the redstone repeater. but it's just as basic as it repeats the signal, and it puts a little bit of a delay on it. Here we've got the basic lever. I've got it in my inventory here. Place it down, flip the switch, activates the signal. And the pressure plate, same as the lever, except you stand on it and it activates the signal. Pretty cool. Next, you've got the redstone torch, which is just a solid signal. And we've got the button, which acts like the lever. However, it doesn't last forever. So when you activate it, it will turn off every once in a while. Then you've got the redstone lamp, which I've got here in my hand, which is what we've got on the floor, is just they're activated by a signal. Here we have the tripwire, which I will actually go through in depth because there's a few creations I've done with the tripwire before. It's a pretty cool block, really neat. You can attach string to it and make some nifty traps. Here we've got the daylight sensor, which I won't do too much with until later on in the series, because it actually starts using comparators, and comparators we won't get into very late or very early in the series, as well as hoppers and droppers. Hoppers are just, they're very, 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 very automatic, so they make this game super simple. So basically you can put a hopper on top of a furnace, and this hopper has 5 slots, and you can put a bunch of iron ore in it, and then when the furnace has space for iron to go in, then it'll just automatically input the iron. It's a really neat block, and it gets deactivated with a signal. But again, I'll go through a little bit more in depth of that later on. Here we've got the redstone block, which acts as a redstone torch. However, you can't push it, or you can push it with pistons, as opposed to the redstone torch. And here's the thing that started it all, the redstone. Great block, it's the most amazing thing. Place it down, it connects, it's awesome. Alright, so that's basically the beginning of redstone. That's all you really need to know for the beginners. Now let's go outside into our test area. It isn't really outside because I blocked it off a little bit. But here we've got some nice sunlight. Why don't I just go time, set, day. Alright, nice and bright. And why don't we get started? So the first thing I want to go over are the redstone signal. So basically, if you're brand new to redstone, you don't know anything that I'm talking about. When you place down redstone, it looks kind of like this. Place it down, you can go like this, you can make it double. It's pretty neat block. But we're not going to be using that much redstone, because it does get kind of signally and stuff. Just 1 second. Just gotta replace this block with some sandstone. Alright, now we're gonna go and take out our redstone, and let's make a block. Let's make a little line here of redstone. And at the end, we'll put a torch. And then, if we take a lever, you can see that we have a long line of redstone, which is basically wire, connected to a lamp at the end. So if we were to turn on this lever, it'll activate the lamp. However, if we were to, per se, extend this redstone even further and place our block, why isn't it activating? Because I placed it down? No. It's because redstone only has a limited strength. So this is the signal strength that I was talking about. So as you can see, the redstone strength, you can see by these little particle effects. And then it ends here. If we were to place our guy here, it will activate. Now, the reason why they both opened, I'll explain later, because that's kind of complicated in the new redstoner's mind. But as you can see, the redstone signal only lasts for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 blocks. So only 15 blocks. That's actually not very long if you think about the big redstone contraptions that people make. Now another thing you might need to know is about the repeater. If we were to make a nice long signal here, all the way across, and then all the way across like this, and then we were to take our lever, put it next to it, and turn it on. It's obviously not going to make it here. But what we can do is we can take a repeater, and let's say the redstone signal will reach here. So if we replace this block with a repeater, it'll create a brand new fresh signal. And then we can put another one right here if we want another fresh signal, and then it keeps going. So this is a way to extend your signal using the redstone repeater. To be most efficient, you're going to want to wait 15 blocks, and then at the last block you put the repeater so that it extends fully. Now these repeaters have a few qualities to them. You can right click the repeater to make this torch move. What does that do? Well, this delays it by ticks. Now in Minecraft there's these things called ticks. You may know, you may not know. Ticks are basically the time in Minecraft. So I think it's around like 10, I can't even remember. It was some decimal number of ticks equals 1 second. So 1 tick obviously isn't that much. So this repeater, when it gets a signal, it's gonna delay by about 1 tick. So if we were to go over here and turn off our lever, and then get one of these guys going, right there, if you watch at the right hand side, you'll see how it delayed just a little bit. Just got that tiny delay. Hardly enough to see. Right. Now if we were to extend this redstone all the way over here, place one of these there, you'll see I've activated, and then it goes, because there's already 3 ticks of delay. Now if we were to go and hit this, right click it, then this repeater will now delay 2 ticks. It's going to take longer to reach the torch, or to reach the lamp. Do another one, and it's going to be longer. Do another one, it's going to be a lot longer. And as you can see, when you turn off the signal as well, it takes a while for the thing to say, hey, I'm not getting a redstone signal over here. Maybe I shouldn't transmit one out. So it's kind of just delaying it a little bit. Now if we were to make all of these at 3 ticks of delay, then in total we have 9 ticks. About close to a second of delay. And we can keep tapping this guy, and you'll see it flashing a few times. And yeah, so that's all about repeaters and redstone. That's the redstone signal and all things like that. You know, I'm just going to keep a piece of sandstone on me, because it seems like I'm going to break a lot. Like that. Right clicking it, or left clicking instead of right clicking. Fail. I apologize for the slow movement and slow breaking of things and things like that. It's just because, again, I've got a very slow computer. And if you haven't noticed, I'm lagging quite a bit. Only getting about 10, 11, 12 FPS. Highest of 12. But anyway, let's get past that. Now we want to talk about blocks and redstone. So if we take a block here, and then we put some redstone on the end, like so. And then we do some redstone here, and a lever. You'll see it does go through blocks. It does not go through blocks, sorry. This way it doesn't. So basically what happens is, if we were to, let's say, will work better if we do this. If we were to put a piston here, see, it works through the block. But then why doesn't it do this? Why not? If I put a redstone block here, like that, why doesn't it activate it? That's because basically this block is getting a direct signal from this piece of redstone, which means that this block now has a block signal. It's a block redstone signal. So if I were to put a lamp here, it'll activate the lamp. Well, then why doesn't it work with redstone? Well, basically because It's as simple as when the block gets a transfer of signal like that, it will actually only activate other redstone blocks. So if I were to put a piston here, it'll activate the piston, but again it won't, whoops, again it won't activate the redstone, like so. Now, the reason for this is because this is a direct signal. And if we put a repeater here, it'll activate the repeater. But still not the redstone, because the redstone needs to be hooked up in a way. Now if we were to put a piece of redstone on the top, that wouldn't work. If we were to put a piece of redstone here, and we do this, let's put a repeater here. That, you can see how that activates. Redstone on the other end, whoops. If we were to break that, place it on the block and then put redstone on the other end, it will activate. That's the difference between a redstone and a normal redstone dust and a redstone repeater. Now this gets a little bit more complicated in the minds of a new redstone person. So when you take this redstone, and if this redstone is directly facing the block, it'll have a strong enough signal to activate another block off of that block. However, like you saw, it won't be strong enough to activate another redstone dust. But what you can see is, watch this. These two aren't directly facing the blocks. If we were to put some lamps here, it's not activating. That's because it has to be a direct signal. So see how this guy's facing the block. It's sending all its power to that block. Now it's activating the torch. But if it had to split its signal, now it has to split its signal up to between those two. It's not going to worry about this block. This guy is facing that way, so he's going to say, yeah, that's just a block. He's not going to activate that block. That's why you need repeaters. So if we would get some repeaters here, and then activate it, then the repeaters will activate those blocks, and as well activate a block here. Now the special thing about redstone repeaters is they basically give what's called a pure signal. So you place down your redstone and give it a repeater, and then put it on a sandstone. You can see how it is going to activate the dust. That's because it's a pure signal. So it's a signal that's just acting as if this is just a redstone block. As if this is the lever itself. Which is why the redstone repeater works a lot better. And which is why you can place a piston on top and do that. Now when you make a piston creation, this is going to be very useful, because you'll see how if you were to take some redstone and you wanted to get a line of pistons like this, it's not going to activate the pistons, because again, it's not worrying about that block. It's just going to drive straight by and only worry about this block. Oops, facing the wrong way. Only worry about that block, which is why these pistons aren't activating. But if you were to put, let's say, repeaters here, then these repeaters are now saying, okay, we need to direct a pure signal over to that way and activate these pistons. So that's how the repeaters, that's basically the signal, that's just basically the direct signal, the pure signal, things like that with redstone. But another thing you probably got to know is that the lever is kind of like the repeater. It gives off a pure signal, but you have to have it attached to the block. If you put the guy there, it's not going to activate it. Put that there, it's not going to activate. Right? Put that there, it's not going to activate. Because this guy is only worrying about powering that block, that block, that block, that block, and the block it's on. But if you were to put it on this block, now it has to worry about powering all the blocks around it. Plus, since it's attached to this block, it's going to give off a pure signal to this block. And hence, it's able to activate the block next to it. this is actually a really useful concept. So that way you can have a wall and have like a lever on it, and then in behind you can have, let's say, some redstone. You can turn it on without the redstone being seen, and then in the back you've got all this redstone being activated. That's what a lot of rookies make mistakes on. I've got actually a few friends who made that mistake, trying to just take redstone and connect it like that. Sorry, like that. Because that's not the only way you can do it. The next thing we're going to look at here is buttons, torches, and pistons. And this will be a shorter part, but this is going to finish it off for us. So if we look at a button, we get some redstone here. That's not going to work. Is that going to work? I didn't think, no, that won't work. Okay. So if we get one of these guys, okay. Let's just say that there's a wall here. Okay, so you got your wall, you press the button, and it's not going to do anything because it's not connected to this properly. Put one of these guys here. And if you didn't know, redstone repeaters can't be activated from the side. It has to be activated from the back. There we go. Now that's going to work. Okay. So, the button, as you can see, only lasts for about a second. So that kind of helps create a signal, and we're going to use the button a lot in later times because it actually becomes really useful. But for now, it's not that useful. But later on in the contraptions, it'll be more useful. So, pressure plate is kind of the same as the lever. It'll activate, it'll activate like this. Everything around it plus the block it's on. So if we were to place down one of these guys and place a couple of lamps around it, like so, see, it activates those lamps, but it's not going to activate that lamp. It's just going through the green block all the way to the lamps. That's pretty much the simplest demonstration I got for pressure plate. Now, the special thing about a redstone torch is that it's got its signal, okay? It acts the same as a lever and a button and a pressure plate. If it's on the actual block, then it activates a pure signal. Or actually, is that the difference? Yeah. So, I'm getting mixed up here myself. The redstone torch doesn't apply a pure signal. It never does. So if you were to take one of these guys, it won't even activate that. But it will activate it if it's next to it. But not if it's on it. Only if it's next to it. Because it acts differently. Whatever block it's on, it's not going to really activate a signal. Which is kind of cool. It works really well, actually. Now there's a way that you can actually turn off this redstone signal. So we need to apply a pure signal to this block. And then fly across and get a button. Okay, if we were to press this button, it turns off the torch. Because this block is getting a pure signal, then it turns it off. Now, the thing is that you can also do direct redstone connections. So if I were to do this and try to get a direct redstone connection with a button, it'll still turn it off. Because all it has to do really is get a signal to that block, and then I'll deactivate that torch. Now, finally, last but not least, we're gonna look at pistons. So this is the original normal piston. We can't put these guys on. We can't put a lever on it, but we can put it next to it. Now, what you can do with pistons is this is the original piston. It'll move a block like so. So you can see these pistons are pushing blocks back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, you're probably wondering, well, will you be able to break a block by putting a piston here? Basically, it'll push that block too. See, when a piston is activated, it can't be activated, it can't get a signal from the front, only from any other side except for the front. Plus, a piston actually has a limit of 9 blocks, I believe it is. I believe it's 9 blocks. Limit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if we were to activate this guy with a signal, it's able to push those blocks. However, if we were to put another block here, flip the lever, it's actually able to push it for some reason. Put another block, it's able to push it. I actually want to see, I'm curious. There it is. So we had 2, and then we had 1 in the wall. So I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it's actually got a limit of 13. I think that was added in the new update. I'm sure it was 9 before. But apparently it's 13. That's okay. So yeah. So a piston can't just constantly keep pushing blocks around. And there's certain blocks it can't push around. But I'm sure you can figure that out by yourself with your own experiments. There's another addition to the piston called the sticky piston, which allows you, what does it say in its name? It's sticky. So it allows it to stick to a block. So it's able to push this block back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And see that glitch. You got a little bit of a glitch there. That was just because of the lag, pretty much. But what'll happen, the good thing about the sticky piston, like I said, is because it hangs on to that block and it won't just constantly keep pushing it. And you're able to actually activate a signal. Now, I won't go too in depth with this because this will be in another creation. What you can do is if, let's say you have a strong signal going through, and you want to say, only if this piston's on, can this signal be on. Let's say, only if that piston's on can that light turn on. Okay? So let's say this is just a light switch. Why isn't the light turning on? Oh, because the door isn't closed, or because the door is open, something like that. Let's say the window's open. We don't want a window. If we're getting light from the window, we don't want to waste our energy by turning on our lights. So let's close our window. Now the window is closed. Now we can turn on the light. Now there's a way to hook up redstone to do this properly, but this is basically just how it works. And then that's the use for the sticky piston. When the piston's activated, it sends a signal. When it's not, it doesn't. Simple as that. So that's just a simple use for the sticky piston. And that's all I got. Let's delete my inventory. That's all I got for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, phone, for ruining the last of my episode. I'm not going to delete it. I've done too much. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you learned a lot about redstone. Next episode, we're going to be looking more in depth into redstone. Possibly what goes on. Some of the things that you can make, like a NOT gate using that delayed torch. And some different other types of gates that you can make. Like possibly having, if 2 signals are activated, only if these 2 signals are activated, then the middle signal will work. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. This has been Redstone Tutorials Episode 1 by SkillsXHeals27. Give me a like, a comment, favorite, and possibly subscribe if you want to see another episode. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.